Attitude Love. She is a devoted wife and mother, as well as a really, really powerful motivational speaker. And I am so happy to be able to call her one of my friends. So please help me welcome Kayla Fight to the stage.
Wow, Sarasota. You guys really showed up today. And I don't know who's in charge of Florida, but they forgot to say that it's November 9th here, and it's a little hot, so I'm excited for that cold front to come in the next few days. But like Cheyenne mentioned, my name is Kayla Fight, and I'm just really honored to be sharing my story with you guys today. What feels like a very small part of my story in the grand scheme of things, but especially here in Sarasota, a place that just means so much to me. It's so close to my heart and definitely intertwined in my lost story. I'm not from here. I'm from Oklahoma. I was born and raised there. One of 4 kids. Our dad was a successful entrepreneur, and our mom prayed for, loved, and being a stay-at-home mom to her 4 babies, all 2 years apart. For a long time, I would describe my childhood as practically perfect. We had everything we needed and more. We were so blessed and fortunate. Houses, cars, food on the table, clothes all the time. I think you get the picture. And our family was very much known in the community for being generous with both time and money. When our mom wasn't shuffling all of us 4 kids around to school activities, dance recitals, sporting events, she was probably filling her calendar to the brim with serving in the community and helping anyone in need. And if I had to describe my mom in one word, it would definitely be busy. But like many people my age, my generation, the generations before, the topic of conversation around our table was never about feelings, emotions, vulnerability, authenticity. It was very much around our routines and our roles we were expected to play and the rules we were meant to follow. And so because of this in my teenage years and to middle school and high school, I started to become a little rebellious. My parents and I's relationship became a little strained. I always just brushed this off as teenage angst or typical rebellion. But I would later find out that it really wasn't that I was a bad kid looking for trouble like they probably thought I was. I was just a scared little girl who was looking for connection and attention, and that was something our parents didn't really know how to give. As I got older, my parents and I had a better relationship. I was out of the house. I was checking off all of the things on the Midwest timeline, right? I graduated college, had a career, I was engaged to be married, and everything seemed to be unfolding the way that it was supposed to. Until it wasn't, because at the same time, myself and all my siblings, we were also progressing in our own ways in our lives, and we were all out of the house and functioning, living on our own. And I thought that was a true testament to how our parents raised us. But this was also whenever I think myself and everyone really started to see a shift in our family. A few other minor events occurred, but first our dad came down with depression, anxiety. He struggled with sleepless nights for months. It wasn't until a few months later we sat down with him and we had what felt like a 20-hour intervention, and he checked himself into a mental health facility. Watching my mom see him kind of crumbling and getting to that point, I think absolutely broke her. Someone that she depended on so much for so long of her life. When he started to crumble, it was almost like gave her permission to crumble as well. Because over time, she started to have her own waves of depression and anxiety. And I really think she tried to hide this behind her busyness and her perfection. And she really never wanted to have anyone else see our family other than perfect, or like we had everything together and everything was fine. So after a year and a half of this cycle, depression, anxiety, both of them in and out of mental hospitals, on Father's Day, June 2015, after many highs, many lows, prayers, and attempts to make things better, she did lose her fight with hope. And of course, that day changed everything for many people in so many different ways, but I'll share mine. So for me, it's really started what I can now look back and see that was years of really chaos. I really tried to hide the pain by any means necessary. And it's really hard and confusing whenever someone who is supposed to be your greatest source of love now turns into your greatest source of pain. Because after that, nothing felt safe. Love didn't feel safe. Safety didn't feel safe. And I was really scared to get close to anything. I left my marriage. I sold everything I owned. And I moved to California, thinking that I could just outrun my past, my story, my pain, and start a whole new life and identity somewhere else, which sounds very silly to me now. And while I didn't get into drugs or alcohol, my addiction kind of became success and perfection and achievements and chasing. And, I was just trying to escape the pain without addressing it. Until I finally did. But it did take about 4 years after my mom's incident. And I stopped running. I started therapy. And I addressed not only my mom's death and what that meant, but also the patterns that had shaped my entire life. And I also think it's really important too, when you're sharing your story, you're understanding it, you're learning it, it's really important to know the blueprint in which you are born, because we're all born into a blueprint of our parents. And that's one of the things I learned in the last decade, the last 10 years. But I want to share just 6 quick things that I think were really helpful for me. I'm so glad I learned them, I understand them, and I really wish my mom would have done the same. So the first one is, you really can't heal what you don't stop to feel. Because I don't think any one of us today would do this 3.2 mile loop if we had 2 broken legs. If you have wounds, they need to be addressed. And that only happens when you're still, when you're honest, and when you're willing to sit in discomfort long enough to understand it. The second one is, busyness is not strength. I think I can say this more to women. I think we as women, we want to be busy. We want to fill up our days. But all busyness does is disconnect you from yourself, from others, and from the truth, really. The third one is, looking strong and being strong are 2 different things, because the version of me that smiled, hustled, achieved, tried to be perfect, that really all wasn't strength. I wasn't stronger than anyone else. I was literally just trying to survive in the worst possible way. The fourth one is, radical honesty is the foundation of freedom, because not only myself but my mom, we really had everything a person could want, right? We had cars, we had houses, clothes, vacations, but I don't think my mom was ever truly honest with herself, and that I could start to see that in myself as well. And when I say honesty, I'm not talking about little white lies to other people. I'm talking about honest with ourselves, what we feel, what we need, what we want. And so honesty really is the foundation of that. The fifth one is, identity cannot be built on roles. My mom was a wife, a caretaker, a mom, and I don't think she knew who she was outside of that. And I started to go down that same route. So my healing really began when I let go of the titles, let go of the masks, and I stopped performing and made that my identity. And then the sixth one is, hope. Hope cannot be found. Hope has to be built. I really wish hope would just appear out of nowhere and fix everything. But hope is really through small acts of courage, showing up when you really want to give up, and learning to be honest with yourself and with others. So for so long, I heard the phrases, well, mental health, mental illness, it just runs in your family. Suicide just runs on your mom's side. Because my mom was the fourth, not only attempt, but success on her side. But something can run in your family, but it really walks with your choices. Because mental illness, trauma, depression, anxiety, whatever we're calling it, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't peep inside the window of a home where a perfect family is sitting around the table and decide to skip on by. It doesn't discriminate at all. The only thing that can truly stop it is our choice to. And just briefly, I want to say, when I started learning all these things that I just mentioned, and I started my therapy and healing process and grieving process, I didn't know what I was doing, and I still don't know what I'm doing, and I have not mastered them, and I'm not an expert at them at all. I'm still working on it every single day. But I didn't know then that I know now that God was actually preparing me to have my own family. And I just don't want my toddler, who's over there in the corner eating probably something, going through what I went through. So when I made that choice to start all this, I didn't know that it was going to affect people down in my generation, but it really does. And I decided that it stops with me here. So as you're walking today, I just want you to remember that healing, or if you're grieving or you're struggling, you don't heal by escaping your pain. You heal as you take one honest step at a time. Thank you.
I don't really even know how to follow that up. Thank you so much, Kayla, for sharing your story, and thank you guys again all for being here today. So I don't know how many of you remember, but I did share my story back in 2023, and during that story, I shared something called the Life